jobs to make sure that me and my brother have opportunities to go to school and to go to university. And so that there was a lot of this drive to, like, on one hand, like, make them proud as well. And on the other hand, I feel like in that age or in that time, you don't have exposure to all the possibilities that are really out there, right? And so there's like this perception in society of like, what is a successful career? And so before I took or made a decision on what I want to study, I felt like back then that I had like three choices, like either like, economics, law, or medicine. Like for me, they were the only
sure.
choices. Yeah, right? They are kind of seen as like, okay, you're going to
I feel you.
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, I think many people do. And so like, right. And I feel like that these are the only three choices that I had that made where I could be successful, essentially, right? And so I went the economics route, and that opened up a lot of doors. And I really love every experience. I loved every experience that I had, right? It contributed to who I am today. At the same time, I do think that in that age, like 17, 18, 19, whenever, before you go to like university, it is important to just like take maybe a little bit more ownership and just look around what else is out there in terms of like what you could study, what you could do and how this could look like. And then just like do a little bit more research on what is out there rather than just thinking like this is what will give me success and that's all I can do, right? Which is just not true.
That is, I think, some golden tips coming out there from your experience. That's exactly the age where we should really start thinking on our own and also go beyond, kind of think out of the box and understand what's more important is to have our own definition of success. Now that might be a bit challenging for a lot of us, but the way things are right now, it is very different. The way Generation Z is growing up, I would say, they are taking charge, they are taking their own decisions. But coming back to your story, Claudia, because I think there are many Generation Y people also over here who are also trying to figure out what they want to do in their life. So I think it's going to reach out to a lot of audiences of different generations who are still willing to understand what is their definition of success. So as you were mentioning, you were at a point during COVID that you, for the first time, you took that break to reflect. Then what happened?
Yes, then what happened? Like suspensive music. Let's imagine a suspensive music. So, what happened? Well, what happened is that for the first time actually ever, I started to look inwards. And what I mean by looking inwards is like, I started to essentially get to know myself really, right? I feel like until then, I don't regret any experience that I've had. I was though chasing external validation and external recognition and like this sense of like how a successful career should look like, right? So, all about title, company, salary, all these kind of things. And this was then the first time when I started to work with a coach on this to just understand what is it actually that I want, like who am I? Like if I'm not my job title, if I'm not the data analytics manager at this company, then who am I? And these are just the simple things because, like I was so consumed with that back then career and that work that, even like there was this question that I've been asking, like, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, what are my hobbies? What, like reading, and it's just like, because all you do is just work, or what I've done is just work to achieve that kind of goal that is not yours. And so I started to really reconnect with myself because I've also realized that in that setting that I was in, I couldn't be my fullest authentic self, right? I had to put a mask on. I had to play along in certain kind of situations. And I've realized that this contributed in a way as well to how I felt. It's like, if you have to pretend to be someone you're not every single day for like 8 to 10 hours a day, at some point there will be a moment where you would just feel very like, whoa, like, do I really want this? Right.
Yeah.
And so then I started to do all this big work, and then I just realized, okay, what else is out there, right? Because for me, I was very narrow-minded. It was only black and white for me, like the thinking that I had back then. It's just like, okay, I'm in corporate, I'm climbing up the corporate ladder, and I continue to do that. Deep down, I did have always, like, in most of my like adult years, I had an idea of like, I would love to be my own boss, but somehow that idea was just like in another galaxy almost, you know.
Yeah.
It's just like, it was not something. It's like, no, like there's no one in my family that has their own business. None of my friends, like it was just, it felt like it's not for me. However, I've then realized that I've then opened up like different portals basically to this other galaxy. And the good thing was like to just not set myself any huge goals anymore, but just to be